James Savundra, Kaveh Solokol back with me. Kaveh, it's interesting because in that message, that statement from Ange, no mention of Daniel Levy and the board. No thanks very much for the time we've had. Who are the people who have made this decision? Because we always think Daniel Levy, but there's a board here. Who else was involved?
I mean, it's the Tottenham board, but ultimately I think it would have been Daniel Levy's call. I assume the new chief executive would have been involved as well, Vinay Venkatesham, who used to work at Arsenal, somebody who is close to Daniel Levy, somebody who has a very, very good reputation in the world of football as well, especially in the highest echelons of the governance of the game at European level. What I feel about this, though, is that Tottenham would not make this decision unless they had a pretty good idea about who was going to replace Ange Postecoglou. And I think the reason they've decided to make the decision now is because of the calibre of coach they want to come in is only going to be available during the summer. Because I think you could have made a very, very good argument, and it's an argument that a lot of Tottenham fans would have made, which was, let's give Ange some time. Let's give him the start of next season and see how it goes. Let's see how we do in the Champions League. New signings, injury records will improve. He deserves that. But then, if you had to make a change, then the kind of person you want to take over from him would not be available mid-season. So I think it's a big decision, but is it a decision that has already been made? Because a lot of the reporters who follow Tottenham very, very closely, if you think back a couple of months ago, around March, April, Easter time, they were all saying that the decision had been made. Whatever happened in the Europa League, Ange Postecoglou was going to leave. And there was a very, very good press conference, I remember, with John Cross, the chief football correspondent of the Daily Mirror, at a press conference with Ange Postecoglou. He asked him a question about basically the fact that, was he aware that he was going to lose his job even if they won the Europa League? And I don't think actually he asked him that question. Sorry, he asked him a different question, but Ange Postecoglou recognised him and recognised the fact that John had written a piece saying that Ange Postecoglou would lose his job. He was very good-natured about it, actually, and John Cross, not surprisingly, has proven to be totally right.
Indeed. All right, so let's talk about who's going to replace Ange. Kaveh says they already know who it's going to be. We've been saying Thomas Frank is the leading contender, but when we spoke to Damesh earlier, he said there are other people in the frame. Who do you think is in the frame, James?
Well, it looks like Thomas Frank is the leading candidate. It looks like that Spurs will make an approach. Brentford are expecting an approach from Tottenham, but Tottenham also admire Marco Silva and Andoni Iraola. When you look at what Marco Silva has done over the course of the last few seasons with Fulham, it has been pretty special. I think he's rebuilt his reputation. I think he's learned a lot from what happened at Watford and then what happened at Everton. He took Fulham up to the Premier League, kept them in the Premier League. I know he's very proud of the fact that they're no longer that yo-yo club, and he's had admirers from those in the Saudi Pro League as well, but he's stayed loyal to Fulham, but he's only got 1 year left on his contract at Fulham, so that might not necessarily be a hugely expensive deal to do. Andoni Iraola has had 2 brilliant seasons at Bournemouth. There were question marks when Bournemouth sacked Gary O'Neill after doing a good job keeping them in the Premier League, but I think Bournemouth have been proven correct with what they've done. There is the argument with Iraola's sides that they tail off towards the second half of the season. They've had a brilliant season, finishing 9th this year in the Premier League. He's done a brilliant job managing young talent, which Spurs have right now. Look what he did with Dean Huijsen off to Real Madrid. Ilya Zabani potentially off to PSG. Milos Kerkez could be going to Liverpool. Justin Kluivert has been a revelation this season, as has Antoine Semenyo as well. But Thomas Frank looks like he's going to be the leading candidate. And you look what Thomas Frank has done over the course of 7 highly successful years at Brentford. You can understand why Tottenham would be interested in him. He's taken them up to the Premier League. They've had 4 seasons in the top flight where they've not struggled whatsoever. They've never been in any danger of being relegated. He's turned the likes of Ivan Toney, David Raya, Brian Mbeumo into superstars. He's huge on culture. That's the biggest thing for him. He said culture beats everything. You can understand why Manchester United have considered him in the past. He's a great manager to bring in because he's not wed to a particular system as well. He's tactically flexible. He's big on transitions. He's got incredible man management skills. He's brilliant with the media. He's a great spokesperson for whatever club he works at. He's a real revelation, what he's been in the Premier League so far. He's not overly bothered by possession or by formation. He's bothered by a project where he can build something special, and that could be at Spurs.
Has he earned the right, Carve?
Difficult to say. I think the only concern about Thomas Frank, I agree with everything James said there. He made some brilliant points. The only concern I would have about him, if I was a Tottenham fan, is he hasn't managed a club as big as Tottenham, and he also hasn't managed in the Champions League. I'm not sure if he's managed in Europe at all. But I think what is really attractive about him is the fact that he is flexible tactically. He's not stubborn. He's not wedded to just one way of playing. And he's done a fabulous job at Brentford. And I think people at Brentford as well would be prepared for the fact that he may leave, because he's been on the short list of so many big clubs recently. I know he was on the short list for the Chelsea job last summer as well. So he's somebody who's very, very highly regarded. I think he would be an exceptional appointment, but then so would Marco Silva. He's somebody who's got experience in the Champions League from his time in Greece with Olympiacos. Also, I don't want to upset Crystal Palace fans, because Olivier
You're
Glasner,
just about to, aren't you?
he said 99.9% he's going to stay at Crystal Palace. But if I was on the Tottenham board, if I was a Tottenham chairman, I would really have noticed the incredible job he's done at Crystal Palace. He's won the FA Cup. He won a European trophy.
Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt.
Won a European trophy as well with Eintracht Frankfurt. So I don't want to talk him out of the Crystal Palace job, because long may he continue to do that job. But those are the kind of people that Tottenham board would have talked about. Interestingly, I was just talking to somebody on our digital team here who's writing a piece for the website. He was saying whoever becomes the new Tottenham head coach, he has the opportunity to win a major trophy in his first game in charge, because the first game in charge is going to be against PSG, the European Super
Good luck
Cup.
with that, Spurs.
Yeah, good luck with that. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? PSG may play a weakened side, but that would be his first competitive game in charge.